this is the face. And by the way, you still have a little bit of an itis in your face, so you're a little warm. And
Oh, I am?
yeah. Again, this is my fingers, not, you might still be at 98.6. For Graham, since Graham has no immune system, I usually do this kind of thing, and I see, I don't have the heat radiating off of but here you're warmer. So she's recovering from strep, so that's where we're at. She's on antibiotics, I'm not worried about it. So what I'm doing here is I'm just seeing the relationship to the nose to the jaw. And again, like I said, I don't do a lot of work, or I really haven't, from the face from this angle. And the results that I got, I was very pleased with. So what I'm doing here is I'm not bringing the jaw down. I'm actually keeping my fingers stationary. And it's only almost like just the weight of my hands is putting pressure through the nasal cavity. And I'm basically seeing that in her situation, the jaw doesn't want to move through here, which is fine. Oh, by the way, when I was in Bhutan, someone said a great thing about the touch. It's like touching butter and not leaving a mark. Again, people, you have no idea until I fill you up that I am applying so little pressure, that it's so gentle. So what I'm doing here is, notice how my fingers are almost in line too with the nasal cavity, and I'm probably more in the upper septoids cavities. I'm sorry, my anatomy is not as good as it should be, but you get the point. And my anatomy is not as good as it should be on purpose. Again, I'm going for the efficiency of movement. I work with people that have had, for lack of a better word, their system does not look like the picture in the book. At a 77% scoliosis. Let me tell you where the scapula is. So, I get it. I know where the parts are. Will that person ever look like the book? No. But is his scoliosis down to 52? Yes. That's all that matters. Is he comfortable? Does he need to be rotted? No. Is he out of pain? Yes. Breathing, lung function, or is all fine? Yes. So here what I'm doing is I'm on the top of the nasal cavity again. I'm keeping sort of this line, not perfectly. It's not like I have, wrote down in our head. And now I'm, again, still stabilizing the jaw, and I'm just pushing up through the nasal cavity. And when I do that too, I'm pushing up in this kind of direction. Everything I do, I'm sorry to say, has a twist. I'm not pushing up like this direction and then if I did do that, I would have to shift my whole body weight to get it. But to me, then I feel a pressure right in the forehead that she doesn't need to have. Everything in your system twists. It has a torque. And if you work with that, I'm telling you, your work is 10 times quicker. It goes to places. Now I can feel how the back of the skull is finally starting to move. Do you feel it? I feel it. So, a lot of people though will cough during this kind of lesson. Sinus drainage, postnasal drip. You're working with areas that really, for some people, have just never been dealt with. Just think of, and this is what I've been working with, just the torque of coming out of natural delivery, or have no torque, having a C-section, how it affects the development of the skull. Now, some people feel they need to undo that. Again, I just feel that you need to change or organize it more. And now I'm going to come in here to the jaw a little bit differently. And I'm, again, stabilizing the jaw. But this is where changing the variation of the movement. See, now I can start, her cheeks are starting to open up. Again, I can't begin to tell you how subtle this is. So you're really going to have to rely much more on your hands at certain points and notice that you're feeling a difference than actually, quote, seeing something. So now I'm going back and I'm going to slightly start applying pressure down on the jaw as I'm pushing back into the forehead. I always like to go back to cooking again. My touch on my thumb right now, it'd be just like putting a seam on a dumpling. If you press too hard, you're just going to tear the dough. So now I'm going to come in here a little bit again. I haven't moved my hand much off the jaw. And I'm just twisting the top of the head down towards me in a sense. So it's sort of like not really a grab, but and again, this is a really nice lesson. So what I'm doing here is I'm touching the jaw, and by bringing the head forward, this would be just the total beginnings of, let's say, of her looking down at her shoes. But with that, I can really feel that the back here at this moment really doesn't want to participate. And also that means that the head doesn't want to come over the jaw or the C7 smoothly. Right there, starting. So what I'm going to do is step this up, is I'm going to go behind the mastoids. Again, I'm staying with the jaw. Now notice too, I'm not going in and making sure she has a force shut on the jaw. You know, if she wants to leave it a little loose, however she likes to organize, or if the jaw's hanging, I'm just there to make my presence known. I'm not holding on to her face. I'm just there just to go for a ride. So I'm going to come back here. This position here, again, since I'm holding the jaw, see, I'm not bringing the whole head forward, but since I'm holding the jaw and stabilizing it, she's pressing into me. So it'd be the same thing about putting a knee into the floor, or what Feldenkrais likes to do, that release to help the movement. Same kind of thing. Do it a lot, this movement too, with the patella into the hip joint, or it's not a compression. Right there. So I'm right at the base of the skull into C1, the back of it. There. See, feel the difference? So right here, look at the movement through C1 and coming up. Look at the difference. See how the head just kind of wants to stop right there. Now, anything could happen. Who knows? She could have hit her head when she was a baby. Like, we didn't all do that. That's where whiplash is with people with accidents. This is where, you know, hitting a dashboard. Sometimes, again, they become violent, and sometimes it's nothing. Or they just never learned it. It is what it is.
I did a fall on my head.
But everybody has.
From far.
So now I can go back and just see, did this get any difference? And now you can see how much nicer now the head can come over C7. Now again, what do we do? 10 minutes. So to some people, that would have been enough of an organization for the head to go on and do other things. I'm trying to show you more and more what I've learned, again, because I'm lucky with a lot of my clients that they come to me regularly so I can play more. I'm going to show you what a whole, let's say, good 40 minutes of this can do. And you can see too, or I can really feel how her face is starting to open up with that movement, the extension actually in the face. So I'm no longer just applying pressure into the top of her sinuses. So I'm bringing her back. See, just watch how much now her head actually grows. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
And you see how slow I am going. So now I can go over a little bit and twist more. See, I'm holding the jaw. And I get to about here. Because what it is, it's still right here in the cheek. So I'm going to go, again, my hand hasn't left the jaw. I'm going to go right here to the cheek. And I'm just going to press in. So in this case, I'm sort of pressing up on the jaw like this. See that just nice movement? And then into the cheek. So again, you're going to get that twist. And if someone has, gosh, gamuts, hearing impaired, visually impaired, migraines, neck issues, all of this, you have no idea how much. Even issues with the feet, speech. It's harder to do with a child. This is what's great when they're sleeping and you can get away with it. So now I'm going to see if that made a difference. Right there, you can really see now how it's going to improve her sense of balance, because now look at how her head's starting to come up off the spine to look up. So she's changed the organization, how the feet come back and how she brings her head up versus the shortening of the back or the neck to do that. So again, I can come back forward and see where that's going. See how much nicer. And now in this case, I can do these little wiggles if I want to. Just a couple little. Now here, see, it's not as efficient. So feel the wiggle here, or look at the wiggle and feel it here. So that's where my next little conversation is going to be. So obviously I've come forward a couple of times, that's not working. So in this case, what I'm going to do is a light lift. Again, I'm still, in a sense, stabilizing the jaw. But again, when I bring my fingers away, I'm not leaving red marks on her face. I mean, I'm not, again, it's just all. And what this is too, is that's that little lift. When you go on the side of your head, when you're getting up from bed in the morning, when you want to lift your neck up. Right there, oif. So, okay, because I need to, at this point, to give her a lesson. Right here, I'm feeling the heaviness, and I'm going to go just under her face. Watch where you are with the ear. And I'm going to show her neck, hopefully, or the back of the head, where she's laying on, to lift with it. And now at this case, too, what I'm going to just do, I'm going to try and see if the pillow makes a difference. It still might be too low. So I'm going to take this pillow out. How's that? Still think it's a little low.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Not much.
Whoops.
You might want to get rid of.
But anyway, it's okay. Oh, I know what I can do. No, you're okay. Can I have a couple of my blue boards? Dum, because this is going to bug me. Let's see. Is that better? Mm-hmm. Is that okay? Do you want one more?
One more is good.
Please.
Almost.
No, hold on. This is where you can play around.
That's perfect. That's where my pillow is.
So now at this point too, I can almost probably just a light grabbing of her nose. So I'm pushing into the jaw. Right there. This is where I'm going to hit the temporal bone. And all I was doing before is just setting her up for it. So now I'm going to come in here. And again, I'm not pushing this way. It's much more the twist off the head. Notice too my fingers here. I'm probably C2, C1, back, cross. Any child that's been in the NICU too long, premature, the lack of these subtleties like this because they're in a fixed position, too long in the car seat. Also, especially flat head starts to develop because you're losing the rotation of the head. When the head starts to change, I hate to use the word deform, but with a flat head, this kind of subtleties of a role are cease in the conversation. So now I'm going to lift the nose a little bit. And again, I'm just like this in that nasal cavity. But I'm twisting now, here. You want to watch your pressure right through here. You don't want to get too much into someone's temple. Any questions?
No.
It feels so cool though.
I can feel
What?
what you're
It
doing
feels so cool.
myself, so.
It just feels awesome.
Doesn't it?
It's just like,
Oh.
I didn't know my head could do that.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
But you won't be saying that when I get you off the table and you're going to be lopsided.
oh God, Bell's palsy again.
Gonna be a bobblehead doll.
Oh yeah, by the way, with
In
her,
a
she did
car
have Bell's
on a
palsy.
On a slant.
Yeah. She did have Bell's palsy, and it was like 3 years later, and I did a lesson just on her shoulder, and the whole face, what the residuals of the palsy had just left. And I didn't work on the face, I worked on the shoulder. And I know we're not supposed to say it, but I was like, oh my God, go look at your face. And she's like, what? And I'm like, it's gone. And even when she walked in, the first thing her husband said, what happened to your face? Because, it was so neat that after 3 years of holding the left smile up, that it all went back into place. Ah, very good. So what I'm doing here, I can apply a bit more pressure, but I'm totally twisting the head and putting pressure down on the jaw in reverse. And again, I don't want to twerk her neck out. Ah, there we go. But as the movement gets easier, I'm going to go back. I can get a little quicker. If you're watching my whole thing, my elbows are on my knees this whole time. As her head's twisting, so is my pelvis and my knees. So now I can almost do my little Google. There we go. So the head's rotating counter to the jaw. How's that for movement, huh? Got a thumbs up. There we go. And and at this point, it's amazing how much the chest cavity is moving, the arms, shoulders. So now I'm going to come in almost like hooks, for lack of a better words, but I'm going to go right in here, the back of the head, and right underneath the jaw. And I'm just going to see what it's like to pull her head forward. And release. And then I can tilt it up a little bit. Ah, see now, this is where I can feel where the skull, the way it's attached to the neck, just again in this organization. So I'm just in here saying, well, what about going down and up and down, up. Again, if you have a child, you can do this while they're sleeping. Ah, there we go. So I'm pushing up into the jaw and then a little forward. And then I'll let it relax for a second. So I'm going to go back. So again, it's a very subtle, but I'm twisting. Now I'm going to go in through the whole brow. Pulling the head forward through the temple, into the brow, and back, down. Well, as I go down, I'm going up, back here. She's starting to feel like a squishy ball. And let her rest. And go back, see what the original movement does, if anything. Oh, and now, again, what I'm going to do is just take another one out and see if that makes a difference. Is that a little bit better? As her head and shoulders and everything come down. Now, just taking out 1/4 of an inch, you literally can do the whole movement all over again because it's now a different organization. If you wanted to. So now I can feel that heaviness through the forehead down here. So again, I don't want to get into the temples because that'll cause discomfort. So I'm going to go right underneath the brow. And as I push down on the jaw, it's a lift up. Just to see if that makes a difference. And down. Ah, there we go. Feel the difference there? Again, it's just the neck muscles changed and the muscles in the back of the head changed. So now I can see how they changed. So bringing her forward and up. And even in this position now, I can bring, and I'm on the jaw. And bringing it back. So here it's just bringing. But if I didn't have my hand on the jaw, it's just a different movement. It'd be okay, but see now the head will come down. Do you see the difference? Versus just stabilizing the head with my hand on the jaw, how the head can still come forward.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can really see if now let's do the opposite with that. I'm going to stabilize the nasal cavity and just start playing with the jaw. So I'm lifting up the jaw in a twist. So as and coming. Now for someone who has issues with muscle tonus, now I could push down on the jaw. And bring back up. Pushing into the... And then go back and see if that made a difference. And at this point too, as she, I think, is somewhat falling asleep on me, I can even see she's still a little low. Now she just needs a teddy bear.
Mm-hmm.
So here you can see now. So I want to come back over here. And again, how the head can come over. And see just the difference between working here and working here. And even if you don't feel there is a difference, that might be with the person you're working on. And we can get into pure physics. The shape of the head is different from here to here, and therefore the rotation of my hands are going to affect it differently. I totally get that. In other words, the height of the head here in relationship to the neck in response to the pull of gravity, I mean, yes, you can get very mathematical with all this as well. But now look at how nice. Or here too in the lift. See now how much nicer? There it is. So I'm lifting, and again, I'm there with the jaw, and I'm going to drop her head. Lifting and drop the head. I really like working with the fall somewhere into the lesson, even if it's just a couple of times. So now lifting. And again, she's much lower now. Before, it was hard to lift her, and she was, probably a good inch higher. So now you can come underneath if you want. So now I'm underneath again. I still have the jaw that I'm working on, back to the mastoids process with the hand. All my hand's doing is just lying there flat. I'm going to go back to the temple. Because I'm feeling how the head actually rolls through that area in my hand. So now in this case, I'm going to go right over her scapula just to give a little feedback, because I'm looking for that rotation. So I'm sort of touching C7, my thumb's on the top of the scapula. And again, I'm just going to see if that made a difference, big difference. Now I can roll back and roll forward. I noticed too with her being on her side that I can do those kind of things where if, let's say if she was on her belly at this point, I would probably have to give her some release and I wouldn't get this kind of. So now in this position, I'm going to tell her I'm going to let her fall. And I can't even begin to tell you how that's going to, quote, relax the muscles in her head. So now I can even lift her. There, lift her. And I'm going to let you fall. And again, if she was 92, would I be doing this? Use your judgment. But also, too, look at what I have. So at this point, boom, 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 she's available. Here, I'm using the heel of my hand into the jaw. I really can twist areas of the head. Now look at that. Look at the organization of the movement through, and now I can go through all points in her head. And again, my left hand is really just going for a ride. I'm not doing the wiggles. The wiggles are all from the right. And I'm just, again, I've got 5 fingers, so I'm going around the head right now, and I'm just looking, is there any glitches that I missed? Now, I still didn't go in around the ear, so maybe I can slow this down a little bit. Right into here, right into here. I can go on the cheek. Here. There we go. Now the whole head can spread. I can even do a palm heel because I know her again. And just spread the head, for lack of a better technical term. Again, I'm not going to where it's a force. But doesn't that feel cool? Or you can argue with me.
When you were doing that, you opened up my clogged sinus right here.
Yeah.
Because it was plugged up here.
Yeah.
It's like,
That palm heel I wouldn't do on anyone right off the base. Now you can do that too in the sinuses. So I'm going to be right here again. I'm supporting the head. You don't want to come up to someone like that and push back because the head's not being supported. So I'm going to come right underneath here. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to lift I'm using a little bit of strength behind with my left hand. My fingers are in the mastoid process off to the side again to support the head so it doesn't go back. And now I'm going into the head with my whole palm. So I'm stretching like she said, the sinus cavities. This is very similar movement. It's a movement that's not done that often, but you know when you have a person that's sitting up and you go from underneath them and you lift the system and then let it go. And I'm doing the same thing. All our lives, our skulls are pressing down. I'm going and saying, yeah, for right now we don't have gravity. And I'm allowing that to open more, breathe more, have movement. Now, if someone's sinuses are clogged, especially if they have a sinus infection of any cases, severe allergies, that mucus is going to change and affect the movements in the skull. The tonus of the mucus is just as important as the fascia tissues, the muscles, the bones. And so those things need to be observed and just worked around. But it's like getting a breathing treatment. If you have allergies, even minor, but your lungs aren't working well, those minor allergies are going to affect you at a much greater rate. So it's the same thing. If your sinus cavities are clogged, any kind of irritant is going to bug you in a sense at a much higher level, and that's so to move the sinuses, and again, these people's sinuses, haven't been done in just ever. But and now what I'm doing is palm heel, and I'm rotating here. And I'll go back for her in here. Now I just kind of grabbed her face. She knows me, she loves me, but maybe with certain clients you can say, I'm going back on your face right now. But at this point too, if you see her, she's like mushing my hands, so at that point, most people don't care what the heck you're doing to them. But if someone has sensory issues or whatever, keep that in mind. And now at this point, I could probably just go and roll her over. But she's all bundled in a blankie. So just feel your face, and then if you want, lie on your back and see what that feels like. On your back, I'm going to take these out.
I need another face.
Yeah. So now just slowly roll your head to the right and to the left and just feel the difference.
Ugh. Totally.
Do you see how gravity affects just
I
your
do feel
face?
this jaw like more open down, and
Yeah.
this one's like this part of my jaw. But this is where my Bell's palsy was.
Right.
Wow. Even when I'm laying my head down, it feels different.
Yeah, so if you take your head like this now, right, and just feel the weight of gravity here, coming to the head here, versus here.
Totally.
See how you can just rotate to it, and here feel how you have to, it's like you're confused on the roll.
Mm-hmm.
And here it's like, boop. See how your face falls, and here, you know what I mean? You get to here, and how much you're holding the head.
Mm-hmm. I'm even holding it right here.
Yeah. So your next lesson that you're now is $150 just to make you.